Congressman Ro Khanna laid out what the Democrats' agenda should be if they get back the House of Representatives. He's talking to Cenk Uygur of TYT. Let's take a look.
So I wanted to ask Ro, because he's one of the leaders of the progressives in the House, what the progressive movement is going to do if the Democrats win the House. You don't want to jinx it, but they look like they're in good shape. So, Ro, what are the first set of priorities for progressives in the House?
Well, to me, it's obvious. We've got to be worthy of the victory, and the victory that progressives gave us. First thing, we got to have a vote on Medicare for all. Not a watered-down version of Medicare for all, the real thing, HR 676, up or down vote. Half the candidates running who are going to win have run on Medicare for all. This whole election has been about health care. We need to deliver.
Yes, I love that talk. You see that? Okay, what do we win for if we're not doing Medicare for all? Okay, I hope Nancy Pelosi's watching. I don't know if she's watching the live stream or she'll watch it later. Okay, I want all the leadership to watch it, obviously. So, what's the second?
Second is a $15 minimum wage. Now, this one is obvious. You know, Bernie and I, when we forced Bezos to raise his wage to $15, 350,000 people benefited. That's the type of policy that's actually helping people. And that's going to help people whether they're in West Virginia or whether they're in Silicon Valley in my district. Everyone cares about getting more money in their pocket so they can pay for health care, for education, for the cost of living. That to me is a no-brainer.
So, look, I talked about Congressman Khanna a lot during that Stop Bezos Act when Amazon raised their wages to $15. But I need you guys to understand, because the mainstream media often gets it very wrong. They say, oh, progressives are not practical. The only people who got wages raised under a Republican rule were this man and Bernie Sanders. They did he sponsored it in the House, Bernie sponsored it in the Senate, and for 350,000 Americans, they got their wages up to $15. What happened? I thought you said it wasn't pragmatic. The reality is the mainstream media is totally, utterly wrong. It is actually the most practical thing you can do to fight for the American worker.
By the way, Jay, the day after they did it, their stock went up. So obviously, it's not hurting their bottom line. If they could do that, it'd still have rising stock prices.
Yeah. And then finally, what's number three?
Number three, and we talked about this, get rid of private financing of elections. And you know that's going to hurt the Koch brothers, but it's also going to hurt George Soros. We don't want any of that money. We don't want the Koch money. We don't want Soros money. Let's propose a constitutional amendment to ban private financing of elections.
All right, I love it. You see that? The constitutional amendment, that's exactly what we need. Thank you.
And I'm with him.
I love it.
Excuse me.
I like those random people at the end. That was funny. Okay, what else is there to say? He's saying if the left takes back the House, the first three things are Medicare for all, $15 minimum wage, and campaign finance reform. Can't beat that, man. Can't beat that. You know, I am a absolute stickler on policy substance, and I'm as wonky as it gets when it comes to the specific and direct action that can fix our system and help working people. And I can't improve upon what they just laid out. What Ro Khanna wants to do, his policy priorities are 100% correct, and it's honestly as if I was leading the charge in the House to try to get our agenda implemented. So, I mean, listen, this is what happens when you elect people who actually believe in the things that we talk about on a regular basis. And that's why it's so important that we're all getting involved. And my whole thing is, you guys know I was a co-founder of Justice Democrats, so I love the idea of a hostile takeover of the Democratic Party because I think that's the best way that we're likely to actually win and get electoral success. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm saying it's the least difficult path. But at the same time, hey man, I'm open to any way that can win and any way that works. So I don't have a hard rule against voting for Green Party candidates or independent candidates or, you know, whatever, some new third party. I don't care. As long as we get the right ideology and the correct philosophy implemented that'll help people, I'm down. So, you know, Tim Canova, for example, is running as an independent. Totally support Tim Canova. So I'm not married to any one idea, and I think anybody that is wrong and pretty clearly, demonstrably wrong. It's all about winning, and it's all about what works. because we're not in this for shits and giggles. We're in this to try to improve the system, to fix the system, and in order to get the policies that we all care so deeply about in place. So those being the top three, 100% agree with that. And then listen, after that, it's an open question as to where we go from there. I think that the next step after those three, you can tie in two issues together. One of them would be ending the wars, because right now we're bombing 8 different countries, and we have 900 military bases around the world that cost $100 billion a year to maintain. So, Democrats should openly say we stop the war in Yemen, get out of Syria, get out of Iraq, get out of Afghanistan, cut our military bases in half. I mean, this is 101 type shit. But then along with that, because you're going to get a lot of savings when you cut back massively on our warfare state, you tie that to a New Deal. And a New Deal is a giant jobs creation program. It'll create a tremendous amount of wealth. And remember, a New Deal is heavily tied into green and renewable technology, which also helps fight back against climate change. So after Medicare for All, $15 minimum wage, campaign finance reform, I think immediately after that, you have to tie in a New Deal and ending the wars together and link those issues and make it clear to everybody, hey, we have an infrastructure that gets a grade of D+. We want to make it an A+, but in order to do that, we're also going to cut back on our preposterous spending on all these stupid offensive wars. And so you get a win when it comes to justice in terms of our foreign policy and imperialism, and you also get a win when it comes to our domestic situation. So I love that. And listen, again, this is why it's so important that everybody gets involved. And I'm not a stickler, but I am as objective as humanly possible and rational about this. And like I said in one of the earlier segments in the show, check your district, check for your state. Hey, do I have any Justice Democrats running here? Do I have any Our Revolution back candidates running here? If not, do I have any PCCC people? Do I have any Green Party people who don't get much press and I got to look it up and check? Do I have an independent who I might like? So, and if you still, even after all that, if you can't find anything on that front that you're excited about, well, just remember, a lot of these states have ballot initiatives, direct ballot initiatives, where you can vote directly on super important issues that impact everybody around you and you. So there's 4 states, for example, red states, that are directly voting on expanding Medicaid. Do you have any idea how important that is? That's so important. You have to vote on that, because you vote on that and you can literally prevent thousands of people from dying, because as a direct result of some red states not expanding Medicaid, people die because they don't have access to basic health care. So super important. Get out there and vote. And then listen, I want to be clear about something else. Let's say the left does win. Let's say we're in a hypothetical future situation. We got President Bernie Sanders. The Democrats have the House. The Democrats have the Senate. The work's not over. The work is never over, because some of those Democrats will have gotten elected by telling you what you want to hear. And then when they're in there, they're like, I don't know. I know I ran on Medicare for All, but I don't know if I actually want to do it. And that's where we come in. And that's where, honestly, we don't take no for an answer. We call them, we pester them, we heckle them, and we don't do anything violent, because we certainly don't believe in violence. Certainly not offensive violence. I believe in violence for defensive purposes, of course, to protect yourself from imminent attack. But no, outside of that, I don't believe in it. And so that means we just have to do the hard activist work on the ground, where we don't take no for an answer, and we push them and we push them and we push them, and we say, hey, listen, you'll lose your career if you don't vote the right way on this. And that's why I say I'm in favor of a hostile takeover of the Democratic Party. We're not here to fucking hold hands with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and meet them halfway. We're here to primary their ass and kick them out. And then in the process, we force whoever's in there to do the policies that represent the people. Because remember, they're going to pull out every trick in the book to try to say that whatever you're doing is wrong. But no, they're wrong. They're 100% wrong. We're the ones that are correct, because we're fighting for things that would help the American people and that the polls show the American people already want. So the work's never going to end, even if we have everybody exactly how we like it and all the different, in the House of Representatives, in the Senate, in the White House, doesn't matter. We're still going to have to fight. We're going to have to hold them accountable, and don't ever forget that. The work never ends, because democracy has to be from the grassroots and up, not the top down.